the motion for grand finals of this year's IMDC. This House believes that PPP's public-private partnership in health should include private investments in public hospitals and facilities.
Shift the handling from the government, who's very, very incompetent, to the private sector, Mr. Speaker, members of South. Because health is a standard that we don't want to compromise. We have to consider that the government also has many priorities except for health. For example, they have to prioritize education, for instance. Would private corporations even be interested to bid? Especially in your paradigm, when you grant absolute control to the government. The policy cannot be called a partnership. It's only a glorified lending program. If your policy will not really produce any changes, what is the point of the policy to begin with? Whoever will benefit from that initial explosion in investment will not be the poor people who because they cannot afford the laparoscopic surgery or the government surgery, it will be the rich. So really, who really are we benefiting and at the expense of who?
A public good should only remain in the hands of the government in charge of it, for so long as they are able to allow people to access and benefit from that good.
The other forms of PPPs that already exist have vastly improved access, maybe not perfectly, but vastly. It's not always all profit or all service. That's why PPPs right now exist and they work, because there was a balance that was struck. Please respond and be comparative. That is what you do in debate. We desperately need these people's expertise and their monies, and we don't see any reason why we should not tie up with them, especially when they are willing to help us anyway.
If you already see that the potentiality of evil is just too big, don't try it. Improve your status quo. I mean, come on, makes sense. Because the state should not displace responsibilities to private corporations, especially when the servicing of that right is something that is important. When you have roads like SETEX, etc., when you deny the use of that to the poor, it's okay. Why? Because there's no real denial of a right. Because that person can just use a longer road, don't pay for that toll, or do something else. But when a public corporation is given to a private corporation that removes certain access to people, that's not good. Because it's a health right, and when you say no to that, it's hard for that person to get something from another place. Mr. Speaker, members, that if we want to balance the rights, if we want to balance the benefit of this model, follow opposition. Thank you.
We actually promote the responsibility of health to both the government and to the private corporation. Is access as perfect as they want to paint it? We say it is not. So that's why we could see that we need another player, a new face, to actually help and try to extend this access, this much needed access to the people who need to be served.
These conflicting interests would inevitably have an effect on the accessibility and the delivery of services. It's not really the services which the majority of the people need. They want to invest in bigger and more technologically advanced equipment that don't really address most of the needs of the people.
Government keeps on whining, but when they get the answer, they don't listen. Come on, rebut. Even if we will agree, status quo is not perfect, but the mere fact that those things can happen means that status quo is improvable. And the state could even just, flow in the resources in terms of making sure that these things do happen, not a PPP.
What they had to say was that these two parties are so antagonistic to each other that they will cancel each other out no matter what happens. Meaning that even if I'm a company that wants to bid against all odds, they should still say no because it's not going to work out. And fortunately, Mr. Chair, unlike relationships like love, they can work out. And at the end of the day, it will work out because it has already worked out, Mr. Chair, in status quo. When you try and not combine a poor government with a profit-oriented system, what you have is a gap. The quality of healthcare, there is a gap, and that's pretty freaking obvious, Mr. Chair. What you're trying to do is to close the gap ever so slightly. And the only way for you to do that is if the money and the admin works together. Because when they work independently, what you have are the rich people getting the nice CT scans and us getting laparoscopies because we cannot afford to get a CT scan. At the end of the day, Mr. Chair, for the health of everyone, and not just the rich or not just the poor, we say that PPPs are the best balance to strike. And for all those reasons, we are proud to win this trophy one more time.